Hello and welcome to my video, and welcome to the train station in Ararat, Victoria. I'm going to be making my way over a couple of days to Brisbane, Queensland. So, a few things about Ballarat. It's got a population of just over 8,000 people. It was famous for the gold rush days. But in more recent history, in 2013-14, it was on the biggest loser, Australia. And I can kind of see why that might have been the case. But anyway, I would hear stories about how the producers of that show would pay people to do the grocery shopping, buy a bunch of junk in the grocery store, and eat chips while they're doing it. Well, that is totally fake. Well, anyway, stay with me on this journey because there's nothing fake about my journey. If I make mistakes, they're honest mistakes. It's all the real McCoy here. So, see you later on the journey. So this is my first Aussie train ride, and I'm in the quiet carriage away from the kids on the other carriage. So I'll have to be very quiet while filming, or not film. So as we leave the town of Ararat, I must point out that I've already made a mistake. And when I said Ballarat, it's Ararat. And anyway, this journey will take just over 2 hours long, and it's only cost 10 Australian dollars, which is a hell of a bargain. So the nice thing about taking a train is there's going to be different views than there was when we were driving the other day, and probably nicer views. So my plan is to take this train to Melbourne. I should get there just before dark, stay in Melbourne tonight, hang out, see what there is, then tomorrow go back to the airport and get a flight to Brisbane, spend the night in Brisbane, and then the next day make my way to a place called Mackay. Or it sounds like Mackay, but it's pronounced Mackay. And I've got a relative there, so that should be pretty interesting. The first cousin that I haven't seen in many years. So this train is pretty full, and I'm trying to find a toilet. I think there's one toilet on the train and the person has locked themselves in. Oh, I'm out of luck. They're hiding in the toilet and I won't be able to use it. We are arriving in Melbourne, and it looks a little bit like Houston, Texas. First impressions this time. So I'm in Melbourne train station, and it was a pretty pleasant journey, but after a few whiskey and cokes, the seal was broken, you could say, and I needed to use the toilet. Unfortunately for me, there was a passenger trying to avoid his or her fare, and they had themselves locked in. But they did get off at the station just before Melbourne, and I was able to finally relieve myself, and I'm sure you all wanted to know that. So I'm looking for my accommodation in Melbourne, and I mentioned that the skyline looks like, or reminds me of Houston, Texas, but here it reminds me of Toronto, downtown Toronto, which I've visited a few times. It's kind of weird, like when you've been to a few different destinations, how some of them remind you of other places, even though they're in different continents. So this is a very vibrant city, a lot different to how I saw it on Sunday night. And those trams over there are actually free. They're free to use within the city limits, just like Wi-Fi from payphones are. So there are a couple of little tips if you ever visit here and you want to save money. So here is a bottle mart, and basically it's just another term for an off license or a liquor store, but they call it a bottle mart for whatever reason over here. And they do have drive-through ones as well, which is pretty handy. So I'm back in Melbourne. It's Friday night, and I'm going to do a bit of gambling, but it's going to be a lot safer gambling than what I did last week. So I'm in this pub, and it's called Bar Humbug, even though it's not Christmas. And basically, if you buy a pint of Furpies, you get a scratch card, and you scratch it off, and you might win a prize. And I got a 1 in 5 chance of winning. That's probably a little safer than how it went for me last week in the casino. And look at that, I have won something. Congratulations, you have won. $30 something. So I've just won these socks, Furpies, and it is a Victorian beer, or it's an Australian beer brewed in the state of Victoria. Lucky me, hey? So today I'll be making my way to Queensland. Obviously I've never been there before, but I'm very excited about going there because it will be a little bit warmer. Get a nice little bit of sunny weather, but it shouldn't be too hot to where it'll be unbearable. Now, if you're wondering about this hat, I'm going to make a disclaimer right now that I did not break into any fire station and I did not steal this hat. So before I leave this beautiful state of Victoria, I want to give a special shout out to my friend Alex for taking care of me, and I'll see you all later. So I thought I'd make that disclaimer because the world is a small place and I don't want to get banned from any more of it. So anyway, I was walking along and I came across this building, The Big Issue. And for those that don't know anything about it, it's a homeless magazine that homeless people sell. And I can't believe I'm admitting this. There was a time in my life I'd be very ashamed to admit it. But when I came back from the United States, I had a lot of money. I had worked there for 15 years and my whole life savings got given to my ex. And I'm glad she got it now when I look back on it, because I do have a daughter with her, and good luck to her, no hard feelings there. But at the time, it left me homeless, penniless, on the streets with absolutely nothing. And I sold this magazine so I could basically just eat. And I worked my way out of it, and I ended up actually climbing Mount Kilimanjaro for them, the highest mountain in Africa. And I made some very good friends, and I'm still friends with those people today. So what was meant as a curse ended up being a blessing. So here is a Hungry Jack's, and you may be thinking it reminds you of a Burger King, and that's correct, because it would have been a Burger King. It's the same franchise, but when the Burger King as we know it came to Australia, there was already one restaurant with that name, so they couldn't have the Burger Kings as we know it, and it became a Hungry Jack's. And in my opinion, it's not a bad name, but that's the history behind Burger King in Australia. I just looked at my receipt and I just got a discount for a Hungry Jack's, so I'm gonna have to take this hat off, even though I do like a discount. You know, it's supposed to be a souvenir from a friend of mine who gave it to me, who works in the fire service. But I don't want to be like a Walter Mitty. So this bus here is going to take me to the airport. It was $23 for a ticket, so not too bad, cheaper than a taxi I guess. And the journey is going to be about 30 minutes. So no drinks are allowed on the bus, so this Hungry Jack's Coke is going to have to disappear. So it's a pretty cool bus, but downstairs are for old people. So a young spring chicken like me is going to go upstairs. So I don't think I saw enough of this city, so fingers crossed I'll be back here again one day. Goodbye Melbourne. So I'm in Terminal 1, Melbourne Airport. It's a pretty big terminal, but it's not that busy for as big as what it is. And I'm super early for my flight. I've got at least 2.5 hours to kill, and I've got no access to the business class lounge. So I'm going to just have to buy my own drinks to pass away the time and just see what happens in this big, massive airport that doesn't have a lot of people in it. And I must also point out that this whole terminal, Terminal 1, is just for Qantas Airlines. All the other budget domestic airlines are in Terminal 2, 3 and 4. So on Monday is a public holiday in Victoria. It's the King's birthday. So maybe a lot of people have already left town for that. Maybe that's why it's so quiet. You know, it's kind of weird, you know. Why do we not have a King's holiday birthday in the UK? That's not fair. But the crazy thing is, I'm going to Queensland, and Queensland celebrates the King's birthday in October or November. Completely different date. Weird, eh? Same country, but different dates. So I think I found a local. That's where I'm going now. So here is the great Australian test. How many of these little drinks that go into a big one? So is this a half a pint? It looks like a half pint. Or shall we fill one more? Okay, so let's see. Yes, it's exactly a half a pint. It makes sense. All right, that's the great debate over. Okay, so the reason why I did that test is because a lot of Australians don't even know that the smaller glass is a half a pint. Well, I know, and I'm not from Australia. Okay, so here's a little bit of beer history. These full pints haven't always been around. It's usually always been the half pints and even smaller ones. And the excuse they like to use is because the beer goes hot. All right, so British people would come over and they'd go into a bar and they'd see these like little drinks being served, and they'd be, bloody hell, what's going on here? Well, is that all the beer you're putting in the glass? And we ended up getting the reputation as being whinging Poms. Alright, so British people about 30, 35, 40 years ago, we weren't liked. We weren't liked in Australia, even though we founded it after the Aborigines did. However, times have moved on and more migrants have come and settled in Australia, and some of the local native Australians don't mind us so much now. And the whinging Poms, even though it sounds like we're whinging, we're not really whinging as much. But anyway, that's a little bit of history about the pint sizes in Australia and what have you. Alright, but I did say I had a bit of time to kill, and I killed it. And that beautiful lady was from, she said she's from Colombia, but I had to correct her. She's from Colombia. That's how they say it. All right, so I'll see you on the plane very shortly. So for the second time in Australia, I'm going to be flying Qantas domestically, and I've got to say, everyone is they just queue up so peacefully and normally, and just without a worry in the world, and there's no dramas at all. And I noticed that yesterday on the train. It was a packed train. People were kind of like squashed in like sardines, but there was no dramas. Everybody was just, carry on and let's do this. That sort of attitude. Anyway, let's do this and get on a flight. Whoa, they just called my name and I'm not even officially late. Bloody hell, that's good service, isn't it? They just want to get everyone on the plane at time, on time. Wow, pretty good. Qantas, you are amazing. So it's beef sausage rolls, wine and beer. And it tastes really good, but could do with a bit of ketchup. And for dessert, a little bit of chocolate to finish it off. So tonight I'm actually going to a hostel, and I wanted the hostel experience just so I can meet other backpackers and, you know, get tips, get a bit of company, you know, find out what to do. But look at this. Look at all the stuff the kind flight attendant has given me. You know, what I can eat at a hostel, or if I want, like, just share with other people. Amazing, eh? Better than they're going to waste, I guess. But that is just absolutely awesome, and that is another reason why I love Qantas Airlines. So I've made it to Brisbane Airport, and I'm gonna get a train to my accommodation where I'm staying. I was just greeted by a lovely guard, so friendly, an Indian native, but really, really friendly, like asking me where I wanted to go and telling me to have a good time and everything. Amazing, awesome, I love it already. And excellent timing, just as I arrive, the train pulls up for me to depart on. So this is where I'm staying tonight. I kind of wanted the hostel experience, at least for one night. I don't know if I'll have it any more nights while I'm here or not. And it's winner chicken dinner. I got the hostel experience, but it looks like I'm going to have this room all to myself. So excuse the terminology, it's what they call in the military a wank palace. I hope you enjoyed this video, because this is where this story is going to end. I have made it from Victoria to Queensland. So consider subscribing if you haven't already. Please give it a thumbs up, because that does help with the algorithm, and I will really appreciate it. Muchas gracias. Vaya con Dios, amigos. I'll see you all on the next journey. Adios.